Good evening from my part of the world. It's another 8 p.m. 14 days to 14th September. Let's have another conversation. It's not about the knowledge you've acquired, but the actions we take, the actions you take with the knowledge that will transform your life. Why, Kweku, thank you for being on. Unless that knowledge translates into consistent actions, it remains dormant. Potential without expression. Growth is not a matter of how much you know, but how much of what you know becomes part of your life. Yako school, yesua adeɛ, yakenkan. Why is still life the same? If we don't take action, it doesn't matter how much we know. Good evening, Kweku. Thank you for being on. And found if we don't take action, nothing will change for us. It wouldn't be any demon's fault. It wouldn't be any devil's fault. It is not about the knowledge we've acquired, but the actions we take with the knowledge that will transform our lives. Unless that knowledge translates into consistent actions, it remains dormant. It remains dormant. So anytime you hear somebody say knowledge is power, tell them there is applied knowledge that is power. If you buy a book and you don't read it, you don't have any added advantage over those who don't even know that such a book exists. The author book are one kind, the own impose a book, Obia trust our book, and they are all the same. No added advantage on anyone's part. In found the knowledge we acquire in this life, if we don't take action with the knowledge we acquire and become that knowledge, your knowledge, omo knowledge, pe. It is not knowledge that is powerful. Knowledge is only powerful when it's applied. Unless that knowledge translates into consistent actions, it remains dormant. Potential without expression. Growth is not a matter of how much we know, but how much of what we know that becomes part of our lives. Are we not saddened that we go to have higher education now and yet still the same? Because we just accumulate the knowledge, we don't use them. And once you don't use knowledge, what knowledge you are still the same. Knowledge applied is the power, not just acquiring knowledge. If we acquire knowledge and we don't use them and growth doesn't take place, whether we have the knowledge or we don't have the knowledge, it is of no use, no bearing. Difference will be clear when we acquire the knowledge and we use them. If not, we are just like those who don't have that knowledge, who don't even know that such knowledge exists. That is the sad truth. So we shouldn't be excited of getting more knowledge every day. Higher education, if we get knowledge and we don't use that knowledge, we can't become powerful. It is not knowledge that's powerful. We've been socialized to accept knowledge is power, knowledge is power. No, I am challenging that now. Knowledge is not power, Bia. It is the applied knowledge that is power. What knowledge haven't we acquired? Who said we don't know what we must do? It is only when we do them with the knowledge we've acquired that is when we become powerful. So knowledge is not powerful. It is the applied knowledge that is powerful. Having to come across people you presume were so knowledgeable until you go closer to them and realize no. So it's not about the knowledge we acquire. It is the knowledge we apply. And that is why many a time, those who are not highly educated, Omunya jitum Sunday school and co. Into a sort of other source or the bra. Many of those people live good. They live well. They acquire wisdom. Wisdom from the knowledge ya yenya. Knowledge na yenya dia boy and bono. They use the wisdom within that knowledge and make life a living for them. And we take pride in the fact that we've acquired that knowledge and we hold on to that knowledge, and yet we don't use that knowledge. We don't become that knowledge. That knowledge doesn't translate into our daily actions and attitudes. So it's not about the knowledge we've acquired, but the actions we take with the knowledge that will transform our lives. So the fact that you sit in the same classroom with somebody doesn't mean you end up like the person if both of you don't use that same knowledge equally. It is the knowledge we use, not just acquiring the knowledge. Second knowledge in Kuadia and can say greater percentage of people. And acquiring knowledge doesn't mean going back to the classroom. Day in, day out, we are learning. But if we are not using this information and this knowledge to, number one, make our own lives better, to make our own lives healthier and happier, then if I may ask, what is the use of acquiring that knowledge? That we get so much knowledge and yet we live in naivety, in ignorance. So then what is the use of that knowledge? Unless the knowledge we acquire translates into consistent actions, it remains dormant. Potential without expression. No wonder Masmoro said the richest place is the cemetery, because the kind of knowledge people have in this life, and yet they don't use it to transform their own lives. They still live from one end to the other with so much pain, with so much depression, with so much ignorance and naivety. It's amazing. So today, just like I said, 14 days to 4th September, what I wish I knew in my 20s, exactly what I'm sharing with you. Unless the knowledge we acquire translates into consistent actions, it still remains dormant. There wouldn't be any difference between those of us who have acquired that knowledge and those who don't even know that such a knowledge exists. Growth is not a matter of how much we know, but how much of what we know that becomes part of our lives. So, yes, you can say knowledge is powerful, but I'm challenging you tonight because I believe it is the applied knowledge that is powerful. The world is full with people who know what to do. They know so much, and yet they don't do so much. The world is filled with people who know what to do, yet their lives remain stagnant because they never take the steps from learning to action. They will learn and learn and learn and learn, and yet they won't take any action with the knowledge they acquire. People can still exploit them from all angles. They can't be willing and ready to say no to things that drain them, and yet they are knowledgeable. They are everywhere, every time, saying yes to things that are meaningless to them, and yet they are knowledgeable. Books, seminars, teachings, experiences can fill our minds with endless wisdom, endless knowledge. All the things we learn from our secular jobs, from our day-to-day interactions with people, from going back to the classroom to acquire knowledge, from seminars, teachings, experiences, they all fill our minds with endless knowledge. But unless that knowledge translates into consistent actions, it remains dormant. Potential without expression. Potential without expression. Transformation is not the fruit of accumulation, but of execution. Transformation only happens when we take action, not what we know, and we just gather and gather and gather knowledge and information, and we still don't use them. Transformation can never be the fruit of accumulation, just accumulating and accumulating, accumulating. No, but of execution. That is why many a time, those who don't even know as much as we know still take action. So whilst those who have so much information are waiting to do great things, those with less knowledge, less information will begin doing little things greatly. And in no time, they just improve. They get better, better with things that we would have done it bigger. But because they took action, they learned on the job. They became better on the job. They improved on the job. And we are still there with that knowledge. Knowledge in boy and bo and the. And we can challenge everybody with that knowledge. But if a knowledge is not tested and tried, you can't know the authenticity of it. So once we learn, let us use that knowledge. If not, we'll just go through life with so much knowledge, with so much information, and yet nothing will happen to us. Nothing will happen to us. Transformation can never be the fruit of accumulation. Transformation is the fruit of execution. We can study health principles, sit down with people and have a conversation around health, and you'll be shocked the kind of things they'll tell you. Is that the way we are living? Even just the area of health. If we are to go by what we know, can you imagine the healthy lifestyles we would have lived and how healthier would have been? But yet we don't. A hypertensive person, a diabetic person, knowing all he or she is supposed to do and just living anyhow, eating anyhow, no exercising, and they are just there. Even their medication they won't take. Who said they don't know? You try to even speak to them and they can give you 101 reasons why they know what they have to do. So is it about knowledge? No, it's not about knowledge. It's not about accumulation. It's about execution. So if we study health principles, but we never adjust our diet or exercise, knowledge with health will not make us healthy. We can have all the information, the A to Z's of health. If we don't take delight in living healthy lifestyles, our spirit may be amazing, our soul will be fantastic, and yet our body will give up on us. Our body will give up on us. We may understand the keys to financial freedom, but if we never apply discipline to our spending or carry it to our investment, knowledge alone will not create any wealth. Knowledge alone about wealth will not bring any of us wealth. If we never apply discipline to our spending or carry it to our investments, to say, no, I want to move it into this. This is not what I signed up for. To question and interrogate. No. So knowledge alone is not enough. Knowledge alone is not enough. Let's apply what we know to our very lives. To our very lives. So not just go through one's pressure to the other. Life is becoming complicated by the day, whereby we know all this knowledge. Knowledge alone will not create wealth. We may know what it takes to build meaningful relationships, but if we never act in kindness, patience, or forgiveness, those relationships will never thrive. That is why you can see people, they are awesome managers, awesome directors, but their personal relationships are bad, poor. Because in the secular world, there are some things that's already structured for us. Whether you like him or dislike her, you have to work with him as a superior or subordinate. But in the personal life, that's when our temperaments and our emotions and everything come to play. So the person might be an awesome director, but you get closer to them and realize they are so mean, they are so wicked, they're emotionally unintelligent. So we may know all the theory, all the knowledge about how to build meaningful relationships. If we never act in kindness, patience, or forgiveness, our relationships will never thrive. And wouldn't be any devil's fault that we should go and pray and cast and bind. No, it is because the knowledge we know, we will not apply them. The danger many fall into is mistaking knowledge for growth. Because I have enough knowledge means I am growing. No, it is only when I begin to apply that knowledge in my life. Reading another book or attending another conference feels like progress, but without action, it is only preparation. It is still preparation. It will continually be preparation. Every year you attend, yes, but it will still be preparation. It would be another level of preparation. And preparation without execution is a wasted potential. True transformation happens when knowledge becomes a lifestyle. When Obi and Jina will so and shout, say, do this and do that, but you know you are supposed to do them. And you know if it's not for you, it's not for you. That is when true transformation can happen. When knowledge becomes a lifestyle, when the knowledge we acquire, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, whether it's finances, whether whatever knowledge we acquire, we make it a lifestyle, a habit, a lifestyle. When what we know is reflected in what we do daily. Until that, we may acquire layers of knowledge and yet no growth will happen. And in case it hasn't crossed your path or your mind yet, a greater percentage of people are just growing older without growing up. So, hooray, I am 40, I'm 50. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is whether we are growing up or we are just growing older. A greater percentage of people are just growing older without growing up. And as long as we don't grow up, we'll go through the same recycle frustrations in this life until we say, no, this is not for me. Yes, that is for me. Even if everybody is rejecting it, that is for me. That is when growth can take place. So transformation only happens when knowledge becomes our daily lifestyle. When what we know is reflected in what we do daily. The peace of mind will bring to us, we have no idea. It is not just enough acquiring knowledge. Once we acquire the knowledge, let's begin using them. Once we begin using the knowledge we've acquired, our old self will give way to the new person we are becoming. But if we just acquire knowledge without that knowledge reflecting in our lives, our old self, our old habits will still triumph. Then what will be the use of acquiring that knowledge? Action is the bridge between information and transformation. Action is the bridge between information and transformation. So the little knowledge we acquire, wherever source is coming from, if it's a knowledge that is aligning with your values, your person, please let's begin using them. For it is not enough just gathering and gathering and accumulating and accumulating. Action is the bridge between information and and transformation. The smallest steps taken consistently carry more weight than the greatest knowledge unused. It doesn't matter how small our actions are, as long as we take these steps consistently, it carry more weight than the greatest knowledge left unused. Life rewards not those who know the most, but those who dare to act on what they know. The universe would always reward those who use what they know to become better, not just those who acquire and accumulate knowledge. So do not measure your growth merely by the knowledge you have acquired. Don't let us measure our growth merely by the knowledge we have acquired. Let's begin measuring it by the actions we've taken, the habits we've built, and the results that reflect our application of wisdom. There are things you do and you know, say, wait, dear, it is because I had this knowledge. If not, there was no way I would have done this. That is growth. There are things you do that you know deep down. Say, if I didn't have that kind of knowledge, I wouldn't have been able to say yes or no to this situation. That is when growth takes place. So don't let us measure our growth by the knowledge we gather. Let's measure it by the actions we take, the habits we build, and the results that reflect our application of wisdom. Because in the end, it is not knowledge that will transform our lives, it is action. That is why it's so sad, but that's the reality. That many people don't have the kind of knowledge and the information we have, and yet their lives are healthier and happier. All aspects of their lives because they take action. They learn on the job, they correct their mistakes, and they quickly move on. But those who have the knowledge are still there, not taking any action with the knowledge they have. So, yes, do not measure your growth merely by the knowledge you have acquired. Measure it by the actions you have taken, the habits you have built, and the results that reflect your application of wisdom. And if you don't get this measurement, if you don't get the results as you wanted, it means you're not able to use that knowledge to the highest level. So go back to that knowledge and begin utilizing them. Growth is not a matter of how much we know, but how much of what we know that becomes part of our lives. Growth is not a matter of how much we know, but how much of what we know that becomes part of our lives. So too often, people pride themselves on knowledge. The books they've read, I know to amount. No, a church or their way, schools awako, courses awako, conferences awako, and after all these things on finances, every scabi betons in the washing. So then, what was the use of the knowledge? Conferences or call workshops or attending every week, every month, every year, and yet it doesn't reflect in the results you want. Sika biato nsɛm a na wahyɛ no, and yet you say you study about finances because you read awesome, amazing books. You don't utilize the knowledge you read. So we shouldn't pride ourselves on knowledge. The books we've read, the quotes we can recite, the theories we understand. No. Knowledge without action is like a seed left in a packet. Yeah. Wakoto seeds wɔ shop na sɛ ɔde ba wo fie bɛdua na da wɔ park no mu na da wo shelf so. I mean, full of potential but barren of fruits. Ebetumi ada hɔ ama awia ayɛ baree. Na deɛ ɔno kɔtɔɔ seeds na even The inscription on it, no won't mean kind tiase, but on this share from no water, no, need an FFE. Na you see it, a shelf, full of potential, but barren of fruits. Real growth is not intellectual accumulation. Yes, I'm sorry. It might sound harsh, but that is the reality. Real growth is not intellectual accumulation, it is transformation. Actions are the true measure of growth. So when ideas cross your mind and you don't take action, you need their own need, even that knowledge, that idea. We are still the same. Actions are the true measure of growth. If knowledge remains in the mind but never finds expression in our daily choices, it is still incomplete. If knowledge remains in the mind but never finds expression in our daily choices, in our daily habits, in our lifestyles, it is still incomplete. It is just not enough to have that knowledge. It is of no use to us, although we have that knowledge. Knowing the importance of discipline without practicing it will never build our character. Understanding financial principles without acting on them will never build us wealth. Hearing about the power of kindness without extending it to others will never deepen our relationships. So, knowing is not enough as a matter of fact. Growth comes when we live out what we know. Growth takes place when we live out what we know. When truth moves from theory into practice. When we don't just talk about it, we don't just recite them, but we practice them. We take actions based on them. Habits are the silent builders of destiny. I hope this is something all of us are supposed to know by now. And I want to believe we do know. But many a time we need someone to come remind us of the things we already know. Habits are the silent builders of destiny. What we repeatedly do reveals the depth of our growth more than what we claim to know. The things we do, the actions we take, our habits are the silent builders of destiny. So, how we live daily reveals the depth of our growth more than what we claim to know. So, yes, it's good to have the knowledge, but if you don't apply this knowledge, if you don't take action based on this knowledge, we are just like those who don't have that knowledge. Full stop. And no transformation can happen in our lives. Our soul can bleed like no man's business, and yet transformation would happen because it's not just consuming the knowledge, it is not just accumulating the knowledge, it is when we utilize that knowledge that growth takes place in us. So, the silent builders of destiny is our habits, what we repeatedly do more than what we claim to know. Consistency in the right actions forms habits, and habits shape character. It is not the occasional burst of action. A woman no obey baako afemu na asa. No. It is not the occasional burst of action, but the sustained practice of wisdom that molds a life of impact. Nti nyɛ deɛ woman no yɛkae anaa obi rehwɛ yɛn a we want to impress people, then we do something na asa. No. That one it won't yield any results. It is what we do, it is not what we do occasionally, but the sustained practice that molds a life of impact. Knowledge may open the door, but habits keep us walking the path towards lasting transformation. Knowledge may open the door, it may bring the opportunity. People get to know we are knowledgeable in this and they give us the opportunity. But it's habits that keep us walking the path towards lasting transformation. Results reflect the authenticity of our growth, not the knowledge. It is results that reflect the authenticity of our growth. A life transformed by applied wisdom cannot hide its fruits. When we begin utilizing the knowledge we acquire, you can't hide because your growth would show. It would show in your results. It will show you in your inner peace. It will show you in your joy. It will show in your transformation. It would show forth. It will not be an internal thing anymore. It would show. A life transformed by applied knowledge, applied wisdom, cannot hide its fruits. Peace, resilience, improved relationships, financial stability, or purposeful living are all the outcomes of putting knowledge into practice. Where you can stand chest out and say, this is not contributing to my growth, so I disconnect, and you owe no one an explanation. And you can stand up and say, as long as this is contributing to my growth, even if everybody rejects it, I am going to fuel it, I am going to sustain it. Results do not lie. They are the evidence of applied knowledge. Results do not lie. They are the evidence of applied knowledge. In the end, growth should never be measured by the library of knowledge we carry in our head, but by the life we build with that knowledge. The life we build with the knowledge we acquire, not just to measure that growth by the knowledge we carry in our heads. In our heads, you see people well educated, and yet in situations that they know they have to take action, and they are just stuck in there, thinking that things will solve by themselves. Nothing works by itself. We have to work them out. Things that are destroying us, habits that are destroying us, draining us. And yet we fold our hands and we are just in there thinking that things will work by themselves when we are supposed to take action. When we know every bit of what we have to do, and yet we won't do them. It is our actions, our habits, and our results that tell the story of who we are becoming, not what we know, not the knowledge we acquire, not the books we read, not the conferences we attend, not the certificates we hold. It is our actions, our habits, and our results that tell the story of who we are becoming. So, yes, knowledge is potential, but applied knowledge is power. And it is only in the application that true growth is revealed. It is only in the application that true growth is revealed. So if we gather layers of knowledge, and yet we don't use them, we don't apply them to our own lives, let alone direct other people towards that knowledge, we can't grow. It is only in application that growth is revealed. Can you imagine the number of people who talk about great plans, visions, and ambitions, but never take steps towards them? The number of people who talk about great plans, visions, and ambitions, but never take steps towards them? If you know of such, put in the comment section there. The kind of things people talk about, and yet we don't take action. And you may wonder why. I'm sharing a few here. You can add yours to it. Number one, comfort zone paralysis. Dreams often require discomfort. And that's why yesterday I said, get to a place in life where you be comfortable getting uncomfortable. Yes, get into a place in this life where you be comfortable getting uncomfortable. Because dreams often require discomfort, sacrifice, discipline, and risk. Many people have the idea of success but are unwilling to leave their zones, their comfort zones, to pursue it. So they just talk about them. They can have the vision and the plans of implementing that vision, but will never take steps. Because taking steps means they have to leave their comfort zones to pursue these dreams. Number two, fear of failure. The thought of failing stops people before they even begin. So they have the knowledge. They can teach other people that same knowledge. And these people's lives will be transformed, but they are afraid to fail. The thought of just failing stops people before they even begin. They rather preserve their dream as a perfect idea in their minds than risk trying and not succeeding. And in case I haven't told you, a greater percentage of people in this life haven't really owned their lives yet. Yeah. So if you own your life and you want to live your dream, why will you be afraid of the judgment of the people who can't and will never own their lives and live on their own terms? And that's why you allow fear of failure to stop you even before you begin. You rather preserve your dream as a perfect idea in your mind than risk trying and not succeeding. Because if you don't succeed, people will make mockery of you, they will judge you, but you have learned. You have learned that if you want to succeed, this is number one. Number two, number three things you are not supposed to do. You are better off than the one that hasn't even tried yet. And you are afraid to fail. If we are afraid to fail, then it means we also don't deserve to succeed. Because failure is part of the process of success. Failure is a part of the process of success. So if we are afraid to fail, it means we don't deserve success too. Number three, procrastination and excuses. People convince themselves that the right time will come. As to when and as to how, me, I don't know. I don't know. For all this while in my life, I don't know how people say the right time will come. Because there hasn't been like a right time for me. If I want to take action, I take action. Because every time I've decided to wait on the right time, that right time never came. So number three is procrastination and excuses. When people convince themselves that the right time will come, from him, where and from who and when, I don't know. They wait for perfect conditions. Or more money, me sika kra nsumidi na ose me fa bi nkoto investment account me and me then we sika na nsumidi forever till thy kingdom come. Oh, I'm sorry if that sounds like a case. Because our needs are always increasing. And saving investment is a culture, more of a culture than just the fun of it. So it's not how much you do, how much you save. If it doesn't become a part of us, a discipline, we will never earn enough to be able to put some for savings. So if we allow perfect conditions to come, we'll never get anything going because perfect conditions, the right time might never come. More money, oh, let me gather more knowledge about this and I'll go into it. And you are just consuming more knowledge every time, more knowledge, every time, more knowledge. When would you take action with the knowledge you've acquired? So you would understand that many a time, even the knowledge you acquire is different. You have to tweak it and twist it when you get into action. But if all you have is the knowledge, what use is that knowledge to you? So wait for perfect conditions. More money, more knowledge, more support. Support from who? You are your own cheerleader. Everybody wants to identify with a success story. So you won't begin and all of a sudden they flood in there to come and support you. There are people who are still watching. They only come on board when the world is celebrating you. And so that is okay. So if you're waiting for their support, you may never take any action. You just gather knowledge. You won't take any action. You're waiting for more money, more knowledge, and more support. Support from who? Be your own cheerleader until the world sees that you are serious. So the universe will bring you support, not you sitting down waiting for support to come. Imagine a farmer just going round, 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 getting people who buy their produce before they even get to the farm to go and plant. When would they go planting? You see, it's funny, yes, but many a time that's what we do. That's why Mandy has said sometimes when these kind of thoughts crosses our mind, we should picture them, create images with our thoughts, and see how funny we sound. You are waiting for more support. From who exactly? When people don't know what you do, they don't understand what you do, how will they support you? Start taking the baby steps and watch those who are for you, who will support you even in your mistakes and encourage you to do more. Those conditions never arrive. The right time never arrives. More money, more knowledge, more support never arrive. And you waste your life. Number four, lack of discipline. Lack of discipline. Vision without consistent action remains fantasy. Vision without consistent action remains fantasy. When I said I wanted to do 14 days to 14 September, somebody's concern was, what will you say every day for 14 days? And I'm like, Meso camera see Mesua, I'll know what to say. If that discouraged me, send her 10 days. So I've been here straight for 10 days. Lack of discipline. And it was coming from a genuine concern. But discipline. Sometimes what we need is discipline to take the first step, to take the baby step. The baby step. And you grow, you learn on the job. You grow on the job. Vision without consistent action remains fantasy. And many a time, all we have is just fantasy. Fantasy. Many underestimate the small daily steps required to transform ambitions into reality. It doesn't matter how gigantic your vision is. If you don't take that small daily steps, it will still remain a fantasy. It will still remain a fantasy. And many people underestimate the small daily steps required to transform ambitions into reality. Number five, validation seeking. Some only talk about their dreams to impress others. I don't know why we are still on that address. I don't know why you still want to be on that address. Some of us have moved from that address long, long time ago. Some only talk about their dreams to impress others. Why are you still on that address? To impress who? This is your life we're talking about, and you want to impress others? They talk, the talk itself becomes their reward, replacing the satisfaction of doing the hard work. And you meet them 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in a row, and they are still talking about the vision they haven't even started. Not even the first step. What? Validation seeking. We have all the knowledge, but validation seeking won't take us anywhere. Let's take the small baby steps and watch how the knowledge we've acquired. Sometimes you don't even know how much knowledge you've acquired until you start taking action. Until you start taking action. So the reward is not just about in the token, in sharing. No, in taking action with the knowledge we acquire. Number 6, no clear road maps. No clear road map. A plan without structure feels overwhelming. A plan without structure feels overwhelming. This is what you want to do. What is your structure? Without structure, it will look. And yet, if only there's a road map, a clear one, and you take it one day at a time, you realize that you even have more capacity to do more. A plan without structure feels overwhelming. Many people dream big but fail to break those dreams into actionable steps, so they remain stuck. They are looking at the bigger picture of the 14 days. And every 1 hour, 14 days, what exactly are you going to talk about? Break it into daily habits. What is on your heart that if somebody shared with you, you'll be excited? Every day, break it into actionable steps. If we look at the bigger picture, we'll never do anything with our lives. But if we part a little here, a little there, invest a little here, a little there, the sum total of our action will bring us rewards. So it's not enough to dream big and yet fail to break those dreams into actionable steps. We remain stuck. We remain stuck. Number 7, fear of judgment. I think I've expanded more on that. Why people hesitate because they worry about what other people will say if they fail or even if they succeed. External validation becomes a trap that silences our progress. Let them talk because they will talk anyway. Give them a reason to talk. And whilst they are talking, you are busily and quietly building your life. You are quietly building your life. So don't mistake talking for doing. Dreaming, planning, and even sharing a vision feel good, but it's only action that bridges the gap between imagination and reality. It is only action that bridges the gap between imagination and reality. It is only action that bridges the gap between imagination and reality. So, knowing is not enough. It is doing with what you know that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. That is why some people live with regrets That is why a greater percentage of people live with regrets. And many a time, at the core of this regrets would be when you are in your 60s and above, when you sit back and recalculate your life and realize the capacity you had to have done what you were supposed to do at a point in your life, but you did not. That's why some people live with regrets, because they confuse excitement with progress. Having great knowledge alone is not enough. And history, as well as everyday life, proves this. History, as well as everyday life, proves this. Some don't have the amount of knowledge we have, and yet they are living because they are not waiting to get all the knowledge, get all the support, get all the money. They take steps. Knowledge is only potential power. It is like fuel in a car tank. Yeah. Knowledge is like a fuel in a car tank. Very useful, right? Yes. But it is meaningless until the engine is started and the car is driven. If not, car wa park or garage, na you fill a full tank. What use is there? The fuel. Many people accumulate knowledge, read countless books, and attend all amazing seminars, pay so much to attend seminars, workshops, yet their lives remain unchanged. With all the knowledge they acquire, nothing, not internally, not externally. And when I say nothing, I'm not talking about material wealth. I'm talking about inner growth. Because knowledge without application sits idle. Sits idle. So, in rounding up, let me briefly share how I think we can transform knowledge into life changing power. So, we become our knowledge. Number one, apply what you know. Apply what you know, and it will amaze you the kind of knowledge you have. Number one, apply what you know. Everything you learn, make it's a conscious habit that everything you learn that aligns with your vision, your values, and who you are, you apply it. So number one, apply what you know. Knowledge only matters when translated into consistent action. And just like I said, knowing the benefit of exercise won't change your health until you actually exercise. Is there anybody, an adult, a full agentic adult, that can tell you that I don't know exercise is good for the body? We all know, but it's not knowing that matters. Knowing the benefits of something won't change our situation until we actually take action on it. Every insight must move from theory to practice. If not, knowing is not enough. Number two, build habits around knowledge. Build habits around knowledge. Build habits around knowledge. Sometimes you see women get stuck in relationships, and all that comes to mind is, I knew so much to have gotten myself into this. Yes, you knew so much, and yet you didn't build habits around that knowledge. So you ended up going to what you knew weren't good for you. Build habits around knowledge. Transformation happens through habits. Habits are repeated actions that turn knowledge into lifestyle. A person who knows discipline but practices procrastination is not yet their knowledge. If you know knowledge, if you understand discipline but practices procrastination, you are not your knowledge yet. To become your knowledge, you must align with your habits with what you know. To become the knowledge you know, you must align your habits with what you know. Number 3, embodiment, not recitation. It is easy to recite principles, but real growth is when people can see your values without you announcing them. Real growth is when people can see your values without you announcing them. If you know kindness, let it show in your treatment of others. If you know resilience, let it reflect in how you handle challenges. Number 4, reflection and adjustment. Reflection and adjustment. Knowledge applied produce results. Knowledge applied will produce results, good or bad. That is the sad aspect about knowledge. Whether it's good or bad, once you apply it, you get the results, also good or bad. If you get knowledge out of ignorance and naivety, your results would also indicate ignorance or naivety. Knowledge reflection is exactly how we put it in there. Garbage in, garbage out. Regular reflection helps us assess whether our application is working or not. So number 4, reflection and adjustment. This is the knowledge I know about this situation as of today. If it's not giving me the results I want, what do? I reflect on the knowledge and I adjust it and I get going. Adjust and refine until your knowledge translates into tangible outcomes. So wherever source that you get your knowledge, if it doesn't give you the results you want, you reflect and adjust that knowledge until it becomes what will bring you the fulfillment you need, until it translates into tangible outcomes. Number 5, courage to act despite fear. Courage to act despite fear. Number 5, often people stop at knowing because acting requires risk. To become your knowledge, you must have the courage to step into uncertainty, to fail, to learn, and to adjust, just like I said. You fail, but you learn from failure. And that is why I said in number 4, reflection and adjustment. Because knowledge applied will produce results, either good or bad. But when we regularly reflect on that result, it helps you assess whether your application is working. So you adjust and refine that knowledge until it translates into the tangible outcomes you want. And that's why I come back to number 5 to say, courage to act despite fear. People stop at knowing because acting requires risk. They get excited when people realize they know too much, but they know when they begin taking action, people get to know that no, they know too much, but they don't do too much. So then they would leave at that level. They will not even take any action at all. Courage to act despite fear. You don't stop at knowing because acting requires risk. To become your knowledge, you must have the knowledge and the courage to step into uncertainty. Yeah. You must be comfortable being uncomfortable, stepping into the uncertainty, to fail and to learn from failure. Number 6, live intentionally. Knowledge should not decorate the mind like ornament in a glass cabinet. Who cares about this glass if I don't use it to my fulfillment? So for the fact that I have it is supposed to bring me satisfaction. What do I use it for? Knowledge should not decorate the mind like ornament in a glass cabinet. Like some people can pack all their beautiful plates and as cutlery and all that until they get visitors in their home. What's the meaning of that? You bought it, so use them. They will never trust to be, I use it because it's yours. Knowledge should not decorate the mind like ornament in a glass cabinet. It should be a tool that shapes decisions, relationships, and life directions. If we utilize what we know, the knowledge we have, would our relationships be like this? Would we take these poor decisions with all the knowledge we know? Would people live in life as if there's no direction when there's so much knowledge? No. Knowledge should not just decorate the mind like any ornament in a glass cabinet. It should be a tool that shapes our decisions, that guides us in our relationships and life direction. So, in summary, knowledge is the seed, but action, discipline, courage, consistency, add the rest in the comment section there. They are the soil. They are the soil, water, and sunlight that make it grow. So, knowledge is only the seed. Knowledge is only the seed. It is action, discipline, courage, consistency. That is the soil, the water, and the sunlight that make the knowledge grow. To transform your life, you must live out your knowledge until your life itself becomes proof of the knowledge you carry. To transform your life, you must live out your knowledge until your life itself becomes proof of the knowledge you carry. So in rounding up for today, always remember that knowledge alone is not enough. Become your knowledge. Knowledge alone is not enough. It will never be enough. You can attend all the classes, all the conferences, all the workshops. If you don't take action, nothing about your life will be transformed. Knowledge has always been celebrated as power. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. That's all we all socialize to accept. But the truth is, knowledge in isolation is only potential power. It is like a seed, full of possibility, yet lifeless until it is planted, watered, and allowed to grow. Did you get this part for me? Knowledge in isolation is only potential power. It is like a seed, full of possibility, yet lifeless, until it is planted, watered, and allowed to grow. So don't be among the too many people who stop at acquiring knowledge, filling their minds with information, but never allowing that information to translate into action. They will never allow that knowledge to translate into action, transformation, or lived experience. What use is that knowledge then? To truly live a meaningful life, for us to live a meaningful lives, we must go beyond knowing and step into becoming. Knowledge alone cannot change anyone's life. If not by now, the professors would have had amazing lives because they have a lot of knowledge. Knowledge alone cannot change anyone's life. Knowing the benefits of good health, just like I said, does not make one healthy. It is only consistent exercise, proper diet and rest, that will do. Reading books on financial literacy will not make anybody wealthy unless the principles are applied in budgeting, investing, and disciplined spending. Full stop. Likewise, studying about love and compassion. Studying about them is still hollow unless expressed in how we treat people. Knowledge without application is like a car filled with fuel, but never dripping. It has potential but goes nowhere. When knowledge is acted upon, it transforms into wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge embodied, lived, and proven through results. So once we learn about resilience and we don't apply it in moments of hardship, it doesn't become a living testimony of strength. It is only when a person knows resilience and also applies it in moments of hardship, that is when it becomes a living testimony of strength. A person who knows the principles of leadership but demonstrates them in service and integrity is no longer just knowledgeable, but has become a leader. Transformation occurs when knowledge moves from the head to the hands and finally to the heart, shaping who we are. So let's become our knowledge. Let's become our knowledge. To become our knowledge means to embody the truths we have learned until they define our character and choices. It is no longer about quoting principles, but living them. It requires discipline to build habits that align with what we know. It calls for courage to act even when fear whispers excuses. It demands reflection where we measure if our actions match our beliefs and adjust what we do not. It demands reflection where we measure if our actions match our beliefs and adjust when they do not. So if many fail to transform their lives, not because they lack knowledge, yes, that is it. It is because they lack the courage to act on it. But knowledge in Kwadi and Kaya will be bad. But lacking the courage to act on the knowledge is what keeps a lot of people stuck in this life. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, and fear of change keep a dozen frozen in just theory. Yet, true growth requires risk. Every step of applied knowledge may not guarantee instant success, but it guarantees progress, experience, and eventual mastery. That's why I've always been saying, if you see someone who's doing something so amazingly, so splendidly, now place or yeah, chances are yeah, didn't see why rehearse that why practice for a long time when you were not private to. So every step of applied knowledge may not guarantee instant success, but it guarantees progress, experience, and eventual mastery. Knowledge alone is never enough. It is the seed, it is action, consistency, and courage that would make it bear fruit. So to live a fulfilled life, you must become your knowledge. Wosua na wode abobra. Wosua na wode adi dwuma. Let your actions, habits, and results reflect what you have learned. Because in the end, the world does not remember those who knew much. In the end, the world will not remember those who knew much, but those who knew and lived what they knew. In the end, the world does not remember those who knew much, but those who lived what they know. In the end, the world will never remember. The world will not remember those who knew much, but those who lived those they know. Those who lived what they know. Those who became what they knew. Those whose knowledge reflected in their own lives as they were also teaching others to do so. So till I come your way again tomorrow, same time, same space, remember that knowledge is not power. It is the applied knowledge that is power. And knowing is not enough. Until we begin living what we know, we'll just accumulate knowledge, but will never transform into lived or lived experiences. Much love and blessings. Thank you for being on. Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Thank you for being on. Oh, talents. Thank you for being on, man of God. Thank you for being on. Until I come your way again, same time tomorrow, always remember 14 days to 14 September. If you don't remember anything for today, and remember that knowledge you have acquired without action will not translate into the life you want. Because growth is not a matter of how much you know, but how much of what you know that becomes a part of your life. Thank you, everybody, for being on. Those of you on YouTube, thank you. Facebook, thank you. Until I come your way again tomorrow, same time, same space, I say much love and blessings. We have no idea how God wants us to live full in this life.